All right, so in my first video, I showed you how to just find a lesson in the content orchard. Now I'm going to show you what you would do with it in order to use it with your students. So if this is the slide deck that you want to use, if it were in my drive, I would come up here first and change the title of it to something that you can remember. And then if you want to get rid of this first slide, you can. This could also just be your beginning slide. So you have your lesson objectives, if that's something that you need to explain to your students ahead of time. Then you have this section here with the volume, all of your like instructional stuff. So like I said in the first video, this is where it shows you that they've already added the Pear Deck features to this slide and that your students would have this space to work in. If you wanted to start this with your class, what you would need to do is make sure you have the Pear Deck add-on. And if you don't, you can add it in the extension section. I already have it here, but you want to make sure that you add that and you would click on Pear Deck. You can see that it's working at the bottom, and then it's going to open up a dashboard here on the right-hand side. There's a few different ways that you can share this with your students. So you can press Start Lesson and either do a student paced or an instructor paced activity. Student pace would mean the kids are working at their own pace, sort of silently on their own. Instructor pace is you are projecting it. You would be able to put their answers up on the board after each question if you wanted to. I do mostly instructor pace activity with my kindergarten and first graders. I have done student pace activity with my older students. So you can make that decision here. Before we go any further, I do want to show you one more thing here. You want to make sure that you've looked into your settings. If you want your students to log in, which means you would see who made every answer, then you want to toggle this over. Okay? I do not do that because my kindergartners and first graders cannot type their school email in. And so I have it as anonymous and I make them write their name on the first slide so that I can follow their avatar and know who is who. But when I do this with the older students, I do toggle this over, requiring them to actually log in, and then I can see everybody's name connected to that. So if the student data is the reason you want to use this, if you're using it for some sort of grade, then you want to make sure you toggle that to whatever setting that you would like. So when you would press Start Lesson, if I wanted to do this with my students, I'll show you a student-paced activity first. Then I would press Student Paced, and it's going to give you some information here on the dashboard. If you are in Cincinnati Public Schools, you can put the Pear Deck login right into your Clever page. And so you can share it with them a couple of different ways. You can copy the join link and share it that way. When you are doing it in front of the whole class, it will give you a code and they can just go to a website and log right in that way. So you would click copy join link, and then you would go put that onto your Clever page or your Schoology page, whatever it is that you are using. And then once the students were actually doing their work, you would be able to see their information loading in here. So if you look here, just reminds you that this is student paced. You can stop it at any time. Here, this little snowman here is some other things about turning off student pace, inviting a co-teacher, ending the session, leaving the session, making it full screen, things like that. So if I were assigning this to my students, I would have this open while they were working. And then at the end of the class, I could close it out, and then I could look back through my data. So then you would hit end the session, and you could either say, yes, I'm sure, or leave and allow the students to keep working. So if you know you had students that did not finish, or you had students that were absent, you don't want to lock the whole thing down. So you could leave and allow students to keep working and go down and close it down later. So that's the one I generally pick, is leave and allow students to come back in later.